anyone in here a fresher? Oh, quite a lot here. I'm a fresher, and since starting here, I've sort of come to a rather sort of unfortunate sort of conclusion, and that's my life peaked both socially and intellectually when I was in year 6. Since then, it's been a slow decline into responsibility, self-loathing, and waking up every morning thinking the milkman's going to kill you. But everyone goes through that, right? The ultimate proof that year 6 was like the best year of your life is because you were the oldest kids in primary school. So that instantly meant that you were the coolest. You were cool. No. But in assembly showed that clearly. Throughout high school, you sat on chairs. In the year 7s, you sat at the front because you were still sort of cute, and the year 6, by the time you were in the year 11, puberty had hit you like a train, so they sat you at the back. In primary school, you spent about 5 years of your life sitting on a shitty floor, and then year 6, you got promoted to the benches. That, my friends, was a critical moment in your life. You'd done it. You'd won primary school. You were a champion, resting on your golden oak throne. You'd won primary school. I mean, I realised the only thing to win in primary school was Pokemon battles. That's not really the point. Year 6 wasn't completely perfect. I mean, it wasn't all cream and waffles. That's not a real expression. Cream and waffles. It could be something, couldn't it? Yeah. There was one thing I didn't like. I had a reading partner. Now, for those of you who may or may not have had it, it's basically a kid in the younger years who you read to every week, and most people went and played with theirs at break time. I avoided mine like the plague. He could not care less about reading. I'd go to him every week and I'd read the same sort of things over and over again. Biff and Chip. Education, we'd read the same Biff and Chip stories over again. Biff and Chip went to the shop. Biff and Chip bought some drinks. The shopkeeper got arrested for serving underage kids, same sort of thing. But my reading partner just couldn't care less. I could have read Biff and Chip Enslave the Orphans, and he'd still be more interested in picking his nose. And then, after watching a small child pick their nose for 45 minutes, digging for gold, I'd then have to take him back to his classroom. Unpleasant, every week. All right, mate, gonna take you back now? Yeah, just give me your hand, yeah. Oh, your hand's a bit sticky today, mate. Yeah. No, it was gross. I'd spend quite a lot of my time bitching about him over MSN. Now, who in here had MSN? Right, the sound of that sounds like you're filled of regret. But you shouldn't be ashamed. MSN was my first love. And my main reason behind this was because MSN had emoticons, which was sort of like the grandfather of emojis, with emojis being the little weird kid that was probably grown in a test tube or something. Well, emoticons were sort of like GIFs, and my personal favourite one was for BRB, I'll be right back, in which the emoticon would go into a toilet, the toilet door would shut saying BRB on it, then the toilet door would swing open just as the little emoticon was taking a shit. Now, if that is not modern art at its finest there, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what is. Because if you don't want to see a dismembered yellow head producing a perfect shit out of it, you guys just aren't cultured enough. MSN was sort of like my main lines of communication during my year 6 production. Did anyone else here do a year 6 production? Woo! Less of you that. But I did one. Mine was called the Keymaster, and in the Keymaster, it was about a substitute history teacher who took a bunch of kids through time. Now, considering all that stuff with Operation U-Tree, I'm not really sure that sort of play would be legal in real life. It was 2008, it was practically a different period in time. I was a suffragette in the scene that I was in, and there was 3 of us. We weren't named, We were just called suffragettes 1, 2, and 3. You know, because giving people status and different levels of power had never caused any issues before, right? Right? I only had one line, and do you want to know my character's contribution to the first wave of feminism? I can drive a tractor. You've swung it there. You've won feminism. The women can drive tractors now. They're going to take over the world. You have to give them the vote now. And I was actually promoted from suffragette 3 to suffragette 2. The reason being was because the girl who became suffragette 3, kept doing her line incorrectly. Now, considering that we were all wearing sashes saying votes for women, I was wearing a sign, like holding a sign saying votes for women, and we sang a song at the end of the scene called Votes for Women. When your line's votes for women, you really shouldn't have an excuse to mess it up. Well, clearly not, which is probably why she got demoted. I don't really know why I got promoted, but in year 6 I was just seen as some kind of big performer because I was in the dance group. But my dance career was tragically short. I mean, we weren't too bad. We did one performance at the Larry Centre in Salford. You know, the dance capital of Salford. And, you know. But my career was just cut tragically short by one disastrous routine before we left. And in this routine, I was paired up with another girl, and she would have to do a roll across the floor, and I would have to jump over her. Now, everything was fine until one particular rehearsal, in which I mistimed my jump. Now, considering, just look at me, I am not the skinniest person in the world. I broke like 3 of her ribs that day. For some reason, you know, we cut the routine after that, and you know, at the time I was quite embarrassed. I couldn't tell my mum. I still haven't told my mum. I should probably do that. It's Mother's Day soon, so I'll be saying it. But, you know, the routine was cut after that. Don't really know why. I think it's perfectly safe. I mean, I would illustrate it with one of you guys here in the audience, but the judge told me not to, so that's all I have for you, Lancaster. Thank you.
You don't need to whoop, but preferably whoop. And then that's going to spread around the audience. So I'm going to point to you, and then I'm going to introduce my first act, Chloe Humphreys. Okay, you ready?
How are we doing?
Alright.
Woo isn't a feeling. So I'm going to talk to you a bit tonight about why dating standards and stuff like that, it's all a bit weird and just makes dating a bit more complex. I would say I have pretty low standards, and you know, this comes from years of people assuming I was more sexually promiscuous than I actually am. So in high school, I used to get little bruises on my neck, just like here and here, and a gaggle of girls led by the notorious Kaylee would often go, "Oh, Chloe, oh, got hickeys on your neck, who you pulling?" I'm pulling my shoelaces tight again. Didn't have my first kiss till I was 19, and the bruises on my neck were from where I'd had MRI scans on my head. I was a sick child. But, you know, just because I like to say I have low standards doesn't mean I don't have any at all. Recently I went on a date with a guy. We met up for coffee, all going well, you know, doing what adults do. And he ordered his cappuccino with skimmed milk. Now, I never saw him again. And the main reason I never saw him again was because I can't date a guy with a calcium deficiency. Like, if I'm gonna, you know, if we're watching a film, cuddling up, if I put my head on his shoulder and his shoulder collapses, then you're no good to me. If I go to hold your hand while we're walking down the street and your fingers snap, what am I meant to do then? Fuck it, if my guy can't take being hit by a 10-ton truck, then what is the point of me dating you? It is perfectly acceptable to discriminate dates based on milk preferences. So, because I'm obviously in the dating scene, world, whatever you like to refer to it as, I often use Tinder and Bumble and all that sort of shit. And I think it's quite important when you're on these sites to have a bio. At least let me know before I swipe right if I'm getting myself into a shitstorm. Because sometimes this can happen quite literally. Once, a guy had just his Snapchat in his bio, seemed nice, added in, talking, everything's going like a normal human conversation. Until he hits me with the, send me a video of you taking a dump. What? Yeah, that was my reaction. What am I meant to do with that? Other than, not finding the act arousing, that is so much pressure. I can't shit on demand. And I don't know what this guy's looking for in my shit. Is he comparing my shit to other girls? Is my shit more liquidy than Sandra's? Is it duration right? I can't predict this. What if I get splashback? But, it was just far too much to expect from me. And what? There's a risk here. What if I send it to my flatmates? Even worse. What if I send it to someone who I actually fancy? But, even though you can put too little in a bio, it's all about getting the balance right, because you can put too much into a bio. The case study I always like to use for this when I'm talking to this with people is Captain Chocolate. Not his real name, just what he referred to himself in his bio, and he said he was looking to recruit vanilla soldiers. I don't really want to join a military-themed harem of women. Not because it's, more than just because it's, grossly objectifying, but also, you're not using the military system to the best of your ability here. What about, captain? You could go further than that. How about Lieutenant General? Lieutenant General Chocolate has a bit of a ring to it, a bit snappy. Really assert your dominance there. And also, I take a bit of an issue with the fact that I've not been told which bit of the military I'd be joining. So, I want to be in the Air Force. I don't want to be in the Navy, because that means I'd have to do water sports. So, you're probably thinking to yourself, why didn't you take up these issues with Captain Chocolate himself? Swipe right, talk to him. I would have done if he wasn't a white guy. Don't really like white chocolate. So, it's all very good, swiping to the right on these people, talking to them. It doesn't necessarily guarantee success. On this current dating campaign, if we're sticking to the military theme here, I haven't got to a second date yet. But I nearly, I thought I did recently. A guy came to see me recently, came on the train, seemed like a nice guy. Asked me if he could leave his book that he was reading on the train at mine while we went out, and I was thinking to myself, I've done it. I've guaranteed him to come back to mine. I haven't guaranteed fuck all, because he didn't come back to mine. We forgot the book. So, next day, send him a message, send him a cute selfie. I'm not often proud of my selfies, but I sent him a nice selfie of me pretending to read the book. And he didn't fucking deserve it. Do you know why he didn't fucking deserve it? Because he's not even opened the message, let alone fucking read it. So, if he'd opened it and read it, I would have been able to be like, oh yeah. I know this is a no-go. But, I haven't even opened it. And the main issue here is the book he left with me was book 3 of 7. That means in order to get to actually read that book in the meantime while I wait for him to get back to me, I've got to invest in 2 books that I'm not even sure I'd like, just so I can read the third one through. And the issue I know with my luck, that I'd get into the first 2 books, get really attached to a character, and they get killed off in the first chapter of the third. So, it's problematic with dating, because, when stuff like that happens, you can't turn around to whoever you've been dating or seeing and, you know, say, can you fill in this feedback form? And if you fill it in before the 10th, you'll be entered into a draw for a £10 Amazon gift card. Well, I don't have £10 to give, but, you know, feedback is always good. But you can't get feedback. That's the issue here. So it makes me wonder, what am I doing wrong? Where can I go better? Because, you know, I look at people around me and you can't help but think, where am I fucking up? A girl at home, you know, has recently given birth to a second child and got engaged to a childhood sweetheart at the age of 19. Just a reminder that I had my first kiss at 19 and I'm currently stood in a bar to, you know, a small audience bitching about my dating life. Even worse than that, my flatmate's cat at home has a better sex life than I do. 3 sets of kittens in 6 months with the same father, and I can't get a guy to send me a message back so I can give him his book back. But in the meantime, my phone's charging over there, got some laxatives in my pocket, so it's time to Snapchat, isn't it? I've been Chloe Humphreys, and if you like what you see, please give me your number after this show. So I'm going to try not to kill myself on this wire. I've not really done this with a wire. I've done this in my room a lot with just like a pen in my hand. It's not really the same effect. But can you guys raise your hand for me or cheer or do whatever the fuck you want to do? I don't know. I can't control you. If you feel like adulthood has been missold to you. It's a good thing there's a majority, because if not, I was going to be like, oh, have any of you been missold PPR? But you've agreed with me, and you know, I agree with you as well. I think adulthood has been missold to me, because, you know, I thought when I grew up I was going to be all like confident and sexy, like a galaxy bar. But it's kind of just like childhood was a Snickers bar, and then growing up you just became another chocolate bar. I don't know what I was talking about then. But only this time it's a bounty, so it's shit in every respect. And you're reminded about how lonely and miserable your existence is every Halloween. I at least want it to be a dairy milk, you know? But it seems like due to how the stars have aligned, it can't possibly be my fault, that I've turned into like a turd in a bag. Sorry, I mean Cadbury after the crap purchase. They can take away our original cream egg recipe, but they'll never take away our dreams! But yeah, it's all due to how adulthood was sold to me. It's almost as if it was sold to me like a popping candy chocolate bar. So you pick it up in the shop, hopefully not like this. This is not a way to pick up a chocolate bar. And you look at it and you go, yeah, this looks like fun, this looks great, and you start eating it, and it starts popping, and then it's fine, and then all of a sudden all the chocolate's gone, and the mouth's still going with all the popping, and then it's like some kind of sad firework display in your mouth, like back at the local park, where even your dad can't muster up and, ooh. But I think it does come down to like one key issue. And I think that's because people these days feel like they need to spell it out to us all when they're adulting. You know, it's almost as if people want validation for doing the most simple of tasks because they're seen as adult. You know, for me it just kind of screams out, oh, I breathed without the help of my parents for 5 minutes! Oh, adulting! Not really. You know, if that's just kind of a condensed form of saying, oh, today I realised that my nectar card was missing, so I called up the operatives at the customer care, and they reassured me that within the next 3 to 5 business days, I'd receive a new one. Oh, adulting! Fuck off! You know, if you are in the UK and you're over the age of 18, you are legally recognised as an adult. So therefore, every action you do is adulting. Every time you take out the bins, you're adulting. Every time you fart and blame it on the dog even though no one was there to witness it anyway, you're adulting. And you know what? I admit it, right? I was adulting when I watched the first 4 series of Thomas the Tank Engine back to back. Now, I see that you're judging me there, but I think you'll find that Thomas the Tank Engine is actually a dystopian thriller. It's a critique of how society will punish us for the simplest of things, even if we just step even slightly out of line. Just done through the medium of living trains. I see some non-believers in here, so I'm going to convert you, you know? That controller, more like slightly overweight autocratic figurehead, am I right? Yeah. I really was not expecting a cheer for that, I'm not going to lie. But, you know, I'm going to give you a few case studies anyway. I'm going to take you back to Series 1, Episode 2. The sad story of Henry. Okay? So, Henry has recently had his paint job done. He's got a glistening new coat of paint. And he wants to protect it from the rain. And who wouldn't be fucking surprised in this weather? Right? So, he goes into a tunnel to protect himself. But then, a slightly overweight autocratic figurehead appears. What does he decide that Henry's punishment is? He builds a wall up to eye level, so Henry is trapped in the tunnel, so he can see out, but he can't go anywhere, and then this is shown in like other shots in further episodes, and he's just left there to kind of die. Right? That would be like me walking around a puddle in the street and then being forced to lick up every puddle I see for the rest of my life. Spillages, leakage at pre-drinks would be awful. And my second case study, Smudger, from Series 4, Episode 10. I know you remember that episode. I can see you, the way you're looking at me, you remember that episode. And it makes my heart hurt too. Smudger was but a simple train, caught for speeding several times. His punishment, he was stripped of all his train inner workings. I don't really know how it works. Especially with like the front bit, like is there a brain? I don't know, I'm not going into that. And he was turned into a generator, right? This only gets worse, right? This is Thomas the fucking Tank Engine, right? There's a landslide at the end of the episode, so Smudger is trapped behind all this rubble and shit. They end the episode with "to be continued," right? This episode was aired in 2001, we've still not got a resolution! That would be like me speeding in my car and then getting sent to prison. Yeah, that kind of works, doesn't it? Anyway, recently on a bus I saw a baby crying, and, you know, it was just crying and crying, and wouldn't stop for anything despite the parents' attempts, and, you know, I thought to myself, you know, I feel you, baby. Not literally, I'm just going to say not as in more of a kind of, I agree with you on a kind of level that you'll never understand kind of way. But then I thought to myself, no, little baby, you're not having that. Because there's such a double standard about crying in public. Like, a baby can cry if it hasn't sucked a nipple in 2 hours, right? But if I start crying about the fact that I haven't sucked a nipple in 2 hours, it's suddenly weird and unacceptable behaviour. Well, fuck you, random cashier at Spar. Babies get it so much better. Right? Feeling a bit tired, yeah? Babies get fat. We don't get that, do we? Babies don't even have to chew their food. Why are these privileges given to us at birth? I don't know why I did that at birth. But, you know, why are we given all these privileges at birth just for them to be stripped away from us? Actually, to be fair, some of them should be stripped away from us. Case in point, back in college, one of my teachers brought in her son. He'd just started school and he was very excited about it. He was telling us all the names of his classmates like so. There's Jacob and Charlotte and Brown Willie and Amy. There's a pause. Because everyone has heard the same thing, but nobody really knows what to do about it. So I can't bear this fucking awkward silence. So I kind of pipe up from the back going, sorry, what was that about your classmate William? And this kid just like gives me eye contact, looks at me straight in the eye and goes, well, there's 2 Willies in my class, and that's how I tell them apart. I'm not having this weird discussion about race and how you shouldn't really refer to people by their race with a 4-year-old, you know? But I don't understand why you couldn't do what we did at school and just refer to people by like a nickname or surname or shoe size. But, slow burner that, slow burner. Or is it actually a thing? I don't know. But, you know, my nickname at school was Chubby. And yeah, it did years of irreversible damage to my self-esteem. But people knew who I was and I was different to the other Chloe. The other Chloe got, like, really significantly better names than I did. She was Cool Chloe or Sexy Chloe or why can't the other Chloe be like this Chloe? But, thank you. I do.
It is an honour to welcome to the stage, Chloe Humphrey.
Hello, good evening. So, I think we can all agree in here that being an adult was Miss Salter's, right? Really? You all enjoy being adults? Well, I'm going to tell you a few reasons why adulthood was missold to me. In the context of chocolate bars, for example, you know, I pictured adulthood kind of like a galaxy bar, you know, all smooth and sexy and draped in silk. Well, as you can tell by the fact that I am not draped in silk, adulthood was completely missold to me. It's kind of like, you know, when you're a kid, you know, everything's like a fun-sized Snickers bar, and then when you become an adult, it's like you become a bouncy bar, everything's worse, you're miserable, and then you're reminded how lonely you are every Christmas. You know, I at least wanted to be like a dairy milk, but because of the way that things have turned out, I'm more like a turd in a bag. Sorry, I mean Cadbury after the Kraft buyout. They can take away our clean eggs, but they'll never take away our freedom. Clearly, that was awful. Clearly, 2 weeks on the Edinburgh Fringe have taught me absolutely nothing. So, it's difficult with, you know, adulthood. Maybe the best way to put it, it's like a popping candy chocolate bar. You know, you see it in the shop, it's on the shelf, and it looks, oh, you know, that's, you know, exciting, it's interesting, it's different. Yeah, it certainly is, in all the wrong ways. You get it, you put it in your mouth, the chocolate's fine, you know, and then it starts popping, and it keeps going and going, it doesn't stop, and it's horrible. It's a bit too spicy for you, clearly you're too light for this chocolate bar. And, you know, suddenly you're just miserable for the next couple of hours. It's like a sad fireworks display at your local park where nobody can even muster up and ooh anymore. I think maybe my issue with adulthood these days is the fact that people need validation for it, you know? Like, oh, I breathed without the help of my parents for the last 5 minutes. Oh, I'm adulting. Right, let's think about that for a second. So, if you're in the United Kingdom and you're over the age of 18, you're legally an adult. Therefore, everything you do after the age of 18 is adulting. Every time you take out the bins, you're adulting. Every time you fart and blame it on the dog, you're adulting. Every time you die, you only die once. But even when you die, you're still adulting. And you know what? Yeah, I admit it. I was adulting when I watched the first 4 seasons of Thomas the Tank Engine back to back. No, don't look at me like that, generic audience member. Thomas the Tank Engine is a dystopian thriller, a critique of how defying social norms even just a tiny bit results in punishment that severely outweighs the crime. It's just done through the medium of talking trains. You know, fat controller, more like slightly overweight autocratic figurehead. Yeah, am I right? Well, yes, I am right, considering the punishments that he gives out to the trains. It's quite awful. Example number 1, we have Henry the Train. He goes and hides in a tunnel because he doesn't want to get his paintwork wet. And what does the fat controller do? Build a wall right up in front of him so he can't get out. The worst thing about this is the wall is built up to like eye level so he can watch the trains with all the trains go by with all their freedom. Like, imagine going on your commute to work or into uni and then just seeing a literal prisoner. Like, they acknowledge it in other episodes, like the other trains just come going by like, hi? What else do you say in that situation? Like, that would be me, like, walking around a puddle in the street and then having to lick up every puddle I see for the rest of my life. Or, in the context of Freshers Week, spillage is leakage. My second example that I'm going to talk about tonight is a train that got caught speeding. And for this crime, the fat controller decided to literally gut him and turn him into a generator. This gets even worse. This is like worse than the last one, because at the end of the episode there's like a landslide, so he's buried under all this rubble, and then the episode just ends with to be continued. That episode aired in 2001, and I don't have any closure. So I saw a baby on the bus the other day, and this baby was crying and crying and crying, and no matter what his mother did, it just wouldn't stop. And you know, I turned to this baby, and I looked at it, and I just said, same. And then I started thinking about it. You know, why was I sympathising with this baby? Because babies get it so much better than we do. You know, for all I know, that baby could have been crying because it hasn't sucked a nipple in the past 2 hours. But when I start crying because I haven't sucked a nipple in the past 2 hours, it's suddenly weird and unacceptable. Well, fuck you, Mr. Bus Driver. You know, babies get so many privileges that we don't get. They don't have to chew their food. You know, if they don't want to walk anymore, they get put in a pram and pushed around. It's not like I can just take a wheelchair, is it? Like, but then at the same time, when you think about it, you know, it's important that they learn that they can't have these privileges forever. This just takes me back to a time in college when, you know, my teacher brought in her kids to come and look at the school because he just started primary school, and he was so excited. He was telling us about all the kids in his class. He was just there like, there's James, and there's Jack, and there's Natalie, and there's Brown Willie. What? Is this 4-year-old that I'm talking to a racist? Yes, because we kind of, you know, followed it up on him. You know, why is Willie brown? And he just was like, oh, it's because there's 2 Willies in my class, so that's how I tell them apart. So, you know, I don't understand why you couldn't do what we used to do in school, you know, tell people apart by like a nickname or their surname or their shoe size, you know? You know, when I was in school, my nickname was Chubby. And, you know, yeah, it did years of damage to my self-esteem and my confidence, but at least they knew who I was. And to be honest, if I'm honest with you, I got pretty ugly. The other Chloe was called Chloe. But that's it for me. I've been Chubby size 6.5 blue-eyed Chloe. Have a good evening.
Chloe Ambridge!
Hello, good evening. You could say I'm your climax for the evening. It doesn't get any better than this, unfortunately. So, my boyfriend recently wanted to have a talk with me, and he said it was about my behaviour in the bedroom. So I immediately assumed that this would be about the fact that I'm an antisocial sleeper. Like, I'm perfectly fine on my own, but as soon as I sleep next to somebody, I become possessed by the spirit of a Black Friday shopper. I become fidgety, I become restless, and I have known to be violent. I once shared a bed with one of my mates. I was staying over at her house, fun sleepover, not for her. Because in the middle of the night, apparently I turned over and then just dug my nails into her arm for the entire night. So in the morning she was telling me about this, and it couldn't have been as bad as she said, because she turned around to show me and there was no arm there. It hadn't been that bad. But no, he didn't want to speak to me about this. So I was like, well, what's the problem? And he was like, can you start acting a bit more sexy in the bedroom? More sexy? That implies that there's like a base standard of sexiness that I already attained. Look at me! Like, right, sir. Do I look sexy to you?
No.
See, that was the right answer. Because if you'd said yes, he would have looked like a proper creep in front of all these people. But I didn't need to ask you anyway, because I know I'm not sexy, because I've tried sexting before. And on my last and only venture into sexting, the guy was getting proper into it. He said to me, "Oh, I moan into your pussy." And the only thing that I could think of to reply to this was, "It moans back." Maybe sexiness is a balance of weirdness and aggression, because I once went out with a guy who wanted to imagine that we were in an estate agent's. I was like, fine, we'll run with it. I start off quite strong. I go for you're into property, you're into floor plans, because I plan to floor you. I mean, I realise that does sound like, I'm coming off a bit strong there, but if I'm going to physically push this man to the ground, I need to be physically strong. But then he turns around to me and says, "You like real estate? Because I plan to make you my property." What estate agents is this? This is like a 1600s estate agent where marriage was like a type of property contract. What happens now? Do I have to wear a corset? Do I have to learn how to cook swan? If I want to leave this estate agent's, do I have to have my head chopped off? I have absolutely no idea what's going on there. But, on the topic of genitals, which is a phrase I never thought I'd say to a crowd, or anyone really, I struggle with, sexy language. How do you make the word penis sound sexy? Because as soon as I think of the word penis, right, I think of a rocket launching into space. Okay? So does this look like a penis to you? A little bit. I mean, yeah, the model, hasn't really fully accounted for balls yet, but when somebody says the word penis, this is what I imagine. And for the benefit of the camera, I don't know which one. But, whether you said yes or no to whether that looks like a penis, you'll never look at a rocket lolly in the same way again. But, I did try and rectify the situation with my boyfriend, not being sexy enough in the bedroom, because I introduced the sexiest food into the bedroom. Now, what do you think the sexiest food is?
Strawberries and chocolate.
Strawberries and chocolate, pretty normie answer that. I'm thinking, what do you think, sir?
Toad in the hole.
I'm just anyway, for me. No, you're both wrong, unfortunately. I introduced love hearts into the bedroom. They've got love in the name, guys. Come on, they're literally the sexiest food. I mean, who could resist such sensual phrases as "grow up"? Fair enough if you're a bloke, but I have a vagina. How does that work? And the classic, email me. Is this 2008? And I mentioned 2008 specifically because that was when I got my first email address, which was chloethekitten@hotmail.com. Considering I was 12 years old, that's a pretty slutty email address. You're not going to open an email from chloethekitten@hotmail and expect screenshots of Neopets, not tits. But, let's not forget the absolute classic of all time, don't cry. I mean, who cries while eating a packet of love hearts? And most importantly, nobody in any sexy context has ever said, don't cry. But let's try this now. I've got a packet with me now. Let's get into the mood. This one in particular is a sad, crying face emoji. Look, I'm not lying. No, it's not for you. This one says, heartbreaker. And this one says, for keeps, in my mouth. God, love fucking win. I'm gonna go suck some dick to take the taste out of it. Look, I'm a Spanish man. No, I am taking over for Star. My name is Kelly, and I'm going to be taking you through some improv tonight. Yay! It's a bit more enthusiastic than that, really. Like, not even a little bit. I mean, because I am not a creative individual. I've been thinking about Tom set. He was talking about, school. And I was thinking back in school. My favourite subject was English, and that was because I actually understood how to spell. But I wanted to ask you guys, like, what did you guys think? What was your favourite subject, sir? Why?
Because the teacher didn't want to put there and instantly liked me.
So because of your family, you instantly excelled in the subject. I had that all the time. Like, teachers were always confusing me with my sister, who's 3 years older than me, because she's called Claire, I'm called Chloe. So, the whole reason behind that is I'm literally called Chloe because my parents were like, oh, so whenever they receive letters, they'll both be called Miss C. Humphreys, and for the rest of their life, nobody will ever know who the post is for. And you know what the saddest thing about this was? Is that one day, we had some letters from the bank, and both mine and my sister's saving accounts had been mixed up. So I profited £3 in a day. I'm never going to have that much money in one day ever again. But I'm going to ask somebody else. You. She's really close to me. What was your favourite subject? Is that your fancy, posh school's way of saying religious studies? Yeah. And why was that? Is it because you were being told by Tom?
Yeah.
But, I don't think empathy's easy. I can't empathise with my sister when she loses £3 from a bank account. So, I want to get you guys ready for some improv. And I should actually start with my So, that's strange. I look like I'm at an indie gig, and I'm gonna pull out my acoustic guitar, and I'm gonna play terrible songs and read shit poetry, and then I'll bugger off afterwards and not listen to anyone else's. We're gonna get you guys warmed up.
Hello. We're about to start. Can you please welcome to the stage your compare for this evening, Chloe Humphrey.
Hello everyone, welcome to Joke of the Oak, yay! This is going to be a little bit like one of those old films where they introduce, do all the credits before the film actually starts. So now, my name is Chloe, what are your guys' names? 3, 2, 1, shout it out, what's your name? And that's everyone else, so everyone's got credits, it's like those old movies. So, let's ignore it's March, because it was Valentine's Day recently, we're a little bit late on the trend, but it's okay. Let's pretend it's February 28th and this was a week ago. But I wanted to speak to some of you who didn't have a Valentine's Day. So give me a cheer if you didn't have a Valentine's Day. Whoa. They're always at the back of the room, aren't they? Watch me as I wrestle with a wire and try and show why I am a health and safety risk to everyone. So, somebody in the corners, you shouted, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you do anything instead of Valentine's?
I found a man to share my Valentine's with, and we had a curry together.
You had a curry?
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Brothers.
So you, instead of going down the traditional romance route, you went down the bromance route?
Yeah.
So I want to give you the best of a proper Valentine's Day. So the only thing you'll ever need from a Valentine's Day without actually going on a Valentine's Day. So what's your name?
Ronan.
So Ronan, okay? I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to give you the best Valentine's Day of your life. So, the reason why I asked for the people who didn't go on a Valentine's Day is because Valentine's alternatives have been a thing recently that have becoming a bit more popular. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
So stuff like Galentine's. So Galentine's, instead
Really? It's not that cute, do you guys? Do it again. Aww. There we go, isn't that lovely? And it's like Galentine's, you know, that it's trying to be something lovely, but it, you know, you get the intention, but it doesn't really work. And that's because I tried to do Galentine's this year, so I spoke to a couple of my female friends. I said, hey guys, let's go out, let's do like girly things, like paint our nails and wear high heels or something. And one of them was on a date with a boyfriend, the other was on a blind date, and the other one was at a dating competition at a bar. This is the problem when you put Valentine's alternatives at the same time. So it's just a bit like a substitution in your shopping, you know, you order some milk and you end up with anti-aging cream. So, you know, I was just left alone to drink my anti-aging cream while everyone else went out on their lovely fancy dates. I wasn't expecting an out for that, to be honest. But before we bring on our first person, Ronan, I want to come back to you. Now, Ronan, I said I was going to give you the best part of a Valentine's date without actually going on one, and that's an STI. So, Ronan, I want to give you the clap, chlamydia. So, when I say, Ronan, go, Ronan will start clapping, and then the people around him will start clapping. And then, like the actual STD, it'll start spreading around the room. And you guys will start clapping as well, and the clapping will finally get to the front. And when it does, I will bring on our first act for the evening, who is Hannah Weston. So, Ronan, spread the clap. Hannah was talking a little bit how Mayor Stubbs was named after his weakness. Now, if I was named after my weakness, I'd be called Girl Who Has the Fear of the Little Hoover from the Teletubbies. Like, have you seen it? It's like a bit like an elephant with the really big eyes, but with like a pinprick for the actual pupil. It's terrifying. But I spoke a little bit before. Yes, we're back on Valentine's. Yes, it is still February. I spoke a little bit to the people who didn't have a date. Who did have a date? So we've got two people here who are interesting. You kind of like, what does mean? Surely it's like, this is black and white.
I mean, it was gin fest. I couldn't really count that as.
So you had a date with alcohol?
No, yeah, and someone else.
And someone else. Yeah. So it's some kind of like weird open relationship when you went with two people at once, so one of them was a gin bottle.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, some of the gin bottles are actually quite pretty. You know, there's like the Bombay Sapphire, it's nice blue colour. You know? I don't know what that is. I don't drink. Why am I commenting on this? But you were more of a definite yes than this weird open relationship but also with a bottle of gin. I don't want to ask any further questions about that. But you were more of a definite I've been on a date. What did you do?
So unfortunately my girlfriend is from Dorset. So we don't actually get to see each other that much, but she did come up for Valentine's and we had a lovely meal at Spoons.
You know, it was going so well until at Spoons. You know, you guys are there having a lovely meal of like, I don't know, chips. You're sharing a plate of chips, gazing into each other's eyes, and then some drunk guy in the background goes, "Score!" So romantic. But these people like you who had like a proper date were really lucky because, you know, you had something definite. But at the same time, the people who didn't have something, have a proper date, had something definite as well. They had the certainty. Now, I was in the position once where somebody told me that we can't go on a Valentine's date because it's too commercial. Ooh. Oh, what a hot take there! You've destroyed capitalism by not doing Valentine's. Just wait for the headlines. 20-something-year-old man destroys consumer culture by saying chocolate hearts are a bit shit. So I followed it up on him, and I was like, hey, dude, you know, I'd like to go on a Valentine's date. And he said, you know, Valentine's is just an excuse to get each other empty gifts that don't mean anything. So I was like, wait a second. second. So you're using an excuse that normally single bitter people use, and you're using it for a legitimate reason? Like, no, Valentine's, you have to do it. It's like having like lemon and sugar on your pancakes on pancake day. You don't really want it, you want golden syrup, but you have to do it because it's pancake day. You do these things because it's tradition. But I was too sheepish to tell everyone. So naturally, in the run-up to Valentine's Day, people were asking me and my ex, oh, what are you doing for the big V-Day? And I would lie, and the lies would get more extravagant the more I was asked. So it started off with, like you guys, going out for a meal, or going to the theatre, or, going and hunting for truffles in the forest. And to this day, my grandma still thinks I adopted a baby. Like, how is any other Valentine's plans ever going to meet with Chloe Jr. at home? But before we introduce our next act, who probably had a better name for their child rather than Chloe Jr. In their head, I want you to become babies. So whenever I say "gar," I want you to shout "goo" back at me. It sounds simple enough. You're looking at me like you're confused. I feel like this is pretty simple. I say "gar," you say "goo." Gar. Goo. Gar, gar. Goo. Okay, so we get this. Okay. Every time I say "gar," I now want you to say "goo" and clap. You're still looking at me like you don't get this. I feel like this is relatively, like I've literally told you guys to become babies. This shouldn't be too hard. So, "gar." Goo. So it turns out it is more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Let's try this again. "Gar." There we go. "Gar, gar, gar." "Gar, gar, 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 gar."
50-year-old friends, thank you very much. I mean, the shout-out.
So that was the first round of applause. Now, taking from the words from a very famous song, "Whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa." It's the interval. So your opinions of me started pretty low and then kind of increased of me as we went along. If that clap is anything to go by. That's great. Did everyone have a nice break?
Yeah.
You see, I didn't, because whenever somebody says in a romantic relationship, "I want to go on a break," it just means they want to break up with you and have sex with someone else. And when you can't spell break up without break. So I was thinking over the interval, I was thinking about school and Valentine's. That is a combination. Stop looking at me like it wasn't. Who in here got Valentine's Day cards in school? Raise your hands. You see, look around the room now, guys. Okay? The people with their hands up are popular kids who had friends in school. I didn't ever. What was that, sorry?
It was forced.
It was forced.
We were all forced to give them to each other.
But then everyone got one at least. But it means you can come to gigs like this and I can say, "Hey guys, look at the room, these are the popular people." And you could be there like, "Yeah, I'm popular, you should have just taken it. This was like an opportunity to be the cool kid." But I never received a Valentine's Day card in school because I had no friends and I wasn't cool enough. I once received a birthday card from a girl who was also called Chloe, and people had thought I'd faked the only birthday card I'd received that year. So yeah, I didn't really have friends in school because I was a nerd. Now, who else was a nerd in here? Give a cheer. Yeah, I can see it from you, sir. You look like a nerd. You look like I was when I was back in school, kind of hanging on the sidelines, knowing the difference between a protractor and a compass. Not knowing how to use BlackBerry Messenger, but knowing that it exists. But even though I didn't have any friends in school, even though I was a nerd in school, I had something that nobody else had. I had a reason to be feared. I went around school and I would literally be Hermione Granger. I'd be putting my hand up all the questions, correcting people, correcting spelling of grammar and all that kind of stuff. And the other kids knew that if they pushed me too far, I would stop being this oasis of student-teacher interaction, and they'd actually have to respond. So even though I had no friends, I wasn't cool enough to be in anyone's gang, I had fear. I mean, to be honest, I was also scared of them, but if we ignore that, there was mutual fear. But there was one particular year where I decided, fuck this, I hate not having friends. So there was an event on that was actually coincidentally on Valentine's, where it was kind of like speed dating, but for making friends, but it was supervised by my French teacher. And I went along, this is, my God, things can't get worse than this, right? So I go in, and the chairs are sat out in a circle, and it just looks like an AA meeting, but for 13-year-olds. Hi, my name's Chloe, and I have a drinking problem. But, I go in, I take a seat, it's just me and my French teacher. Cool. I'm like cool now. I have loads of friends. No, it was quiet. We reached the 10-minute mark. Nobody's there. It's on the other side of school, it's 3 stories up. Maybe people are just a bit slow to come over. 20-minute mark. Still very quiet. And the funny thing about time is that it passes. And it reaches the 30-minute mark, and my French teacher is looking really uncomfortable now. And she turns around to me and says, "Oh, damn, Chloe, nobody else turned up. Isn't that a shame? Maybe we should try this again, next month or next term or never again, and see if more people turn up then." And with her saying that, she literally admitted to me that I was that uncool and that unpopular that people who don't even know me didn't want to hang out with me. And it is a bit of an R, but kind of not really, because, imagine me, but slightly shorter and with really greasy hair. Do you want to hang out with that? I didn't. I somehow separated myself, and my subconscious was not aware that I was having to hang out with just myself. But our next act for this evening, what an awkward segue, but our next act for the evening was probably more popular at school than I was. So to introduce him, we're going to play a fun game. I know, we've reached the heights of Goo Goo and Gaga. Where can we go next? We're going to do something else. So there's a line here where the aisle is. And you guys are going to clap. Just like once. Clap. Can you be a bit more enthusiastic? I know you're not like using your voices, but like like a clap, but enthusiastic. Cool. Once they've done that, this side of the room, we're also going to do a clap. A bit of unity, guys. I know none of you know each other, but pretend that you do. So, you guys clap. I go faster. So that was fun, more, everyone. Give another round of applause. So, during my years at school, yes, we're going back to that again. During my years at school, there was a crowd of kids who got on the same bus as me. Yes, I'm linking this back to buses. Who used to come on the bus and then call me, "Oh, look, it's bowl cut girl." And it used to really upset me because not only was it a really shit attempt at bullying, but second off, my hair is clearly more of a bit mixing bowl cut. Come on! So, even though I say all this, that I got teased and I didn't get any friends, I got off pretty lightly at school, whether you believe it or not. Mainly because I never had to go to the depths of, oh, well, I have a boyfriend, but he goes to a different school so you don't know him. I never went to that depth. Now, you, sir, you mentioned earlier that you have a girlfriend who goes to a different uni.
No, she lives in Dorset.
Yes.
Yes.
That's great. gesture at me. But, so, did anyone else do that? Did anyone else say that they faked, has anyone else faked a boyfriend? No, exactly. There was one girl in my school who was so desperate for a partner that she made a fake Facebook boyfriend. So I'm going to need your help on this. I want your opinion on this too. Because I decided to check out his profile the other day, and so I go on and I checked his school, and yes, indeed, it was on the other side of town. So do you think it's fake or real?
Fake.
Okay, yeah. Not really sounding too like unified on this. So I look at his profile picture, and his profile picture isn't of him. His profile picture is of a minion, butt naked, sticking its arse out like this. Real or fake?
They're not a middle-aged mum.
What?
They're not a middle-aged mum.
So it's real because they're not a middle-aged mom?
No, they're fake.
I thought you were saying it was real because it's a middle-aged mother.
No,
so
only they like minions.
Okay. So the final check I did to see if this guy was fake or real, I went onto his wall and I saw all the posts, and all the posts were pictures of him and this girl together, only it wasn't pictures of him. He'd photoshopped pictures of his profile picture, so the butt-naked minion, into pictures of him and her together. Real or fake? To be fair, she still updates it to this day, so maybe you are right. Maybe it is real. But we are going to move on to our last act of the evening. And to introduce them, before we do that, we're going to do another little fun little game. I know you love them, so we're going to keep doing them. Well, this is the last one, but we're going to keep doing it for one last time. So when I put my hand out, this is like a meter of clappiness. Not to the extent you've got chlamydia, just like how much clapping you should do. So down here, there's a little bit of clapping. So like, like that. Perfect. When you get to here, it's kind of a normal amount of clapping. Like, how much practice is it? It's like the one time clapping, you did okay. And up here, it's like, so, we're going to stop here. So, we're now going to welcome on our final act of the evening.
Hello everyone, we are about to start. Please welcome to the stage your compare from the second half, Chloe Humphrey.
Hi guys, my name is Chloe, as Bassar just said, and obviously, in anticipation of this being a film gig, I decided that I was going to look up famous characters called Chloe. But as you'll probably find out, as I now tell you, the characters called Chloe are not very good. So first at the top of the list, thanks Wikipedia, top of the list was Chloe, the Chihuahua in Beverly Hills, Chihuahua! And just for spoilers here, it's about a Chihuahua who's essentially like a stereotypical Valley Girls accessory. So all I am is just a dog. I'm just a bitch. Just an accessory. The second one on the list, though not film related, was Chloe Pig in the famous TV series Peppa Pig. So this isn't going very well, is it? We've already got a dog and a pig, and the final one. This one's big one. There's a film called Chloe. And it's about the call girl! She spoilers for anyone who wants to see this, she seduces someone who's trying to make her set up a honey trap for her husband. So, what am I? I'm a pig, but also a bitch, who's also a slut. So, it's not going particularly well for people named Chloe. So, I decided to look a little bit more into my name, and my name means fertility, which just makes the whole call girl thing significantly worse. But it also means growth and green shoot. So that's what I'm going to be doing to introduce our first act of the night, who is the star Sanchez. So I want you guys to start like clapping really like small. Like really small. And then we're going to start building it up like a green shoot. I'm going to get higher as well. So, don't worry guys, we've had our bits of representation, me as a woman and Thesar as someone who's not English, so it's just straight white English men from here on out. I know, but I just wanted to just bring attention to something in films that bothers me, a bit like Thesar did. The spotlight is truly on me now. But in films, have you ever noticed that like women can't blush properly? Have you noticed this? That like you're a fellow woman, right? Have you seen it in films when women like are in the shower and they don't blush properly?
I don't watch those kind of films.
Like that, just in anything. They just like focus either on the armpits, on the tits, on the ass, or nothing else. Yeah, see somebody's nodding, that means my point is valid. But yeah, like films can be annoying in that way, you know, how like, you know, women can't wash properly, they've also got no hair on their body whatsoever, they're also like beautiful whenever they step out of anywhere, and in some films, if the continuity's that bad, they'll step out of the shower perfectly dry! They also do that bit in horror films, you know, when like, you know, you just see like the plug hole and it's filled with blood because of like, she's been murdered. Don't you mean she's just on her period? Oh God, yeah, I know, it's terrible. But I'm going to introduce the next act. Yeah, you're not going to say, oh God, now. So our next act is Tom Longmore. So what I want you guys to do, I'm going to draw an invisible line down here. So you guys are going to clap. Some of you are on. No, just clap once. And then you guys are going to clap. And then we're going to get faster and faster and faster and faster. If that makes sense. So you guys clap. Clap. This side is really shit. Come on. Like, yeah, come on. Do it again. Show me how it's done. Come on. Okay, so we're going to do it properly this time. You've had your trial runs. When I said it was straight white men from here on out, I'm back again, I'm really sorry. But before I introduce the next act, I just want to get a few more favourite films. Mainly because I don't know about films, so I'm going to guess about what favourite films are about. Guys, favourite film?
Probably Star Wars.
Right, okay, I don't know a lot about film, but there's been a lot of them. Or every Star Wars?
Yes.
So they fight with the lightsabers and that's about it?
Yeah.
And there's little teddy bears and they do things. So you like teddy bears. Are you a furry? Your favourite film? Moonlight. Are you sure you meant Moonlight and not La La Land? Hey, we've already done that joke this evening. Oh, wow. So Moonlight, does it take place entirely at night? What, break my soul to watch a film seems a bit much of a commitment. Seems like a lot. Yeah, because it's at night. Okay, so we're going to ask for one more film. You please.
Mine's Whiplash.
Whiplash. That's got the drums in it. Yes, I know something. But other than that, what happens? There's drums and people play the drums and that's it. Somebody gets hit by a car! Okay, that's a bit of a turnaround. Well, it's not the worst spoiler we've had. Hey, end game. But we're going to move on to our third act for the evening. So I need you guys to give me a big round of applause. So please welcome to the stage, George Summerfield! So just for context, that was actually film related. There have been films about the monarchy. King's Speech and the Queen. That's 2. But we're going to move straight on to our next act. It's Jacob Heppelston!
This is a very, very good friend of mine. She's clever, she's intelligent, and I have nothing else good to say about her. Please welcome to the stage, Chloe Humphrey!
I am far too short for that. Hello everyone. Hello, you may have noticed by the name Chloe that I am female, but don't worry, you know, I am the last bit of any representation of minorities for the rest of the evening. Straight white men from here on out. But yes, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about relationships and like sexy stuff. So if you're like me and a bit of like have a nervous disposition and a genuine fear of intimacy, please, you know, this is your warning now in advance. But yes, my boyfriend, who is here this evening, not going to name and shame, said once that he wanted to have a talk with me, and, you know, I asked him to expand a little bit, because there's so many things you could point out about me, but he specifically pointed out my behaviour in the bedroom. Now, my mind immediately jumped to the fact that I'm a bit of an antisocial sleeper. So, like, I'm fine completely when I'm by myself, but as soon as I share a bed with someone, I become possessed by the spirit of a Black Friday shopper. I'm irrational, I've become very scary, and I have been known to be violent. One night I was staying over at a friend's house, and apparently I stayed in her bed, because I'm not going to sleep on the floor when there's a king-size bed, and according to her, I turned over in my sleep and just dug my nails into her arm like that. And when I asked her about it in the morning, she turned her arm around to show me, and there was nothing there, so I don't know what she was complaining about. But no, my boyfriend didn't want to talk to me about that. He asked me very nicely, as nice as you can ask this question, if I could start acting a bit more sexy in the bedroom. More sexy. That implies that there's some kind of foundation that we can improve upon here. I mean, I'm not convinced that we do. I mean, sir, do I look sexy to you?
Yes.
Well, you kind of failed that question because now you look like a creep in front of everyone. And my boyfriend too. But you know, I didn't really need your validation. You know, I know I'm not sexy because I've tried sexting before. I should say unenlightened, but I feel like enlightened is the right term in this condition. But for those who don't know, sexting is where you send sexually explicit messages in the hope of arousing the receiver of such messages. And the last occasion that I tried doing this, the guy very seductively sent me the message, I moan into your pussy, and the first thing that I could think to send back was, it moans back. But yeah, maybe I was approaching it the wrong way, maybe but you know, maybe I was just taking the wrong avenue. Maybe I needed to be a bit more aggressive. So another guy I spoke to on Tinder, yeah, it was rough, said to me that he wanted to do like a fantasy as if we were in an estate agent's. And you can tell it's a fantasy because, you know, I'll never be able to afford my own home. But yeah, he wanted to do this fantasy, and I told him to start because I'm clueless. And the first thing he said to me was, you like real estate? This wasn't planned. You like real estate? Well, girl, I'll make you my property. His property? What is this? Like the 1600s where like marriage was like essentially a property contract between two families? I mean, what am I going to have to do? Am I going to seductively tell him that I can cook swan? Am I going to have to wear a corset? What if I want to break up with him? Is he going to have to chop off my head or something? But you know, sexy language is difficult in general. I mean, think about penises. How do you make a penis sound sexy? I mean, it's not like you're going to go down the conventional route of like calling it a dick. That's a bit overdone. you know, but like, to me, a dick kind of looks like a rocket. So I kind of drew a model in advance, if I can open paper. Now, sir, do you think your penis looks like this?
That is just a carbon copy. That's exactly.
So like, say you're in the bedroom with a significant other. Would you then call this space junk?
I'm going to now, yes.
That's one lucky person you're with. Just for context, this is my little rocket drawing. I know the model doesn't fully account for jizz yet. There you go, camera. I realise it doesn't fully account for jizz yet, but you know, it's kind of better that than calling it by its proper terms, you know? Imagine like being in the bedroom with someone and then like being like, oh, please insert your external dual-purpose lovemaking and urination device into me, please, sir. Like, you're not going to do that. But you guys are probably wondering, how did I remedy the situation with my boyfriend who asked me to be a bit more sexy? And I did that the very genius way by bringing the sexiest food into the bedroom. Now, I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think is the sexiest food?
Hummus.
I mean, normally how this works is I come over to somebody and I point the mic at them and they like, their eyes go wide and wow, like you just jump straight in there. Can I just ask you why?
A good consistency.
That's a good. No, I'm not asking anymore. But I will subject you.
I disagree, Thomas.
So, like, okay, hummus is your first choice, but what's your second choice?
Thomas.
Are we just going to go through all the varieties of hummus here? I mean, to be fair, I never imagined hummus in that way, but no, I did not take hummus in. I know you're probably all really upset to hear that. I actually took in love hearts. They've got love in the name. It's almost as if they're made for it. I mean, come on, who couldn't resist such wonderful things as email me? I mean, yeah, it's like it's 2008 and people still casually email each other. I had the sluttiest first email address. So my first email address was Kitten Chloe, right, okay? Imagine logging into your emails, first email you get is from someone called Kitten Chloe. You're not going to think it's from some stupid 12-year-old, are you? You're going to think that this is some kind of porn bot trying to send me sexy images. Another one here, grow up. I mean, I kind of get how that works for men, but what's going to grow here? But, you know, last but not least, I actually pulled this out of the packet first, and I actually can't believe that this has actually freaked me out, but don't cry. I mean, who has ever, like, drowned their sorrows in a pack of love hearts? Imagine trying to, like, actually use this in everyday life. You go over to somebody and, you know, they're like, oh, Chloe, my granddad has just died and I'm really upset. Oh, don't cry. The love heart told you to. But you wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it anyway. But how about we try getting into the sexy mood, hey? Yeah, this is a little sexy mood by trying some of these love hearts. God, they have 2 layers of fucking wrapping. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever done in my life. These taste a hell of a lot worse than I remembered them to. I'm gonna go and suck some dick to take the taste out of them. I've been Chloe Humphreys.